Well, good evening and welcome. It's good to be with you again. When we left Noah and his family last week, they were buttoned up in the ark and they'd been floating around some roughly 20 to 25 feet or 15 cubits above the highest mountain peak. And they'd been doing this for the better part of 6 months. It it really must have felt like God had forgotten them. But of course, God did not. Our reading today starts with the words, "But God remembered Noah." I can't imagine any sweeter words that Noah could have heard or that we can hear, because when God remembers us, whenever we hear God remembers in Scripture, God acts. And so he does here. A wind begins to blow and the waters begin to subside. The rains are also restrained, and another 6 months later, the ark comes to rest on Mount Ararat. Now, Noah uses a raven and he uses some doves to gather information about the condition of what's going on outside of the ark. Notice that Noah doesn't act on his own. He's waiting patiently for God. He doesn't try and get out of the ark till God tells him. It could not have been very easy to wait cooped up in that ark for over a year. But unlike so many others who will not wait on God, people like Abram and King Saul, or Abraham and King Saul, come to mind right away. Noah does wait. When God finally tells Noah to come out of the ark with his family and with all the animals, Noah offers a sacrifice, and that sacrifice pleases God, and God makes a covenant with Noah to never again curse the ground because of man's wickedness. God blesses Noah and his sons, and he tells them to be fruitful and to multiply and to fill the earth, which unfortunately we're going to find out very quickly here they don't actually do. God gives man now also the animals to eat, but he draws a really sharp distinction between man and animal by declaring that anything that kills man, whether it's another person or whether it's some kind of a wild animal, anything will have to answer to God. And then finally, God gives the rainbow as a reminder of his covenant that never again will waters destroy all flesh. Now, the next two sections that we will read provide details about Noah's descendants. Now, admittedly, genealogies are not particularly exciting reading, but if you will take the time to go through them, you'll find there's some names that you might recognize, names of peoples and countries. Well, actually, names of people that countries will be named after, like Canaan, Cush, and Egypt. We also are going to read, you also will read about the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, where people disobeyed God's command to disperse over all the earth. Remember, I mentioned it wasn't going to take long before people were disobeying God again? Well, sure enough, God had told them to disperse, to fill the earth, and they didn't. Instead, they began to build a monument to themselves in an attempt to get the people to stay together, exactly the opposite of God's command. But instead, they ended up incurring God's wrath. God comes down and causes many languages to replace the one language, making it impossible for the people to stay together as they had planned, and driving the people to disperse as God had originally commanded. Finally, then, we have a brief list of Shem's descendants, and that list ends with Terah and his sons Abram, Nahor, and Haran, the father of Lot. Terah and his sons originally lived in Ur, but Terah decides to move to Canaan. They get as far as Haran and they settle there. It's from there that God calls Abraham to finish the journey to what will come to be known as the Promised Land. So far, we've traveled all the way from creation to the introduction of Abram, or Abraham, as you more commonly know him. Now we're going to step away from Genesis for a few days to read the account of Job. When we return back to Genesis, we'll pick up right here in Haran with the account of Abram and Lot after Haran and Terah have died. May God be with you now and bless you. I pray that your reading is fruitful, and I look forward to meeting with you again tomorrow.